How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Miguel, and if you're new here, welcome. And you know a little something, it would mean the world to me if you subscribe to the channel. It really does help more than you know and can think it does. It keeps me motivated to keep producing free content for you guys. I partnered up once again with Aries Gold. This time I'm reviewing another one of their dive watches. As a matter of fact, this is their second dive watch since 1970s, so I'm pretty excited to check it out. Now, unlike the first dive watch that I reviewed from them, the Black Sea, this watch is actually a lot more modern, and it definitely borrows a lot of inspiration from different Seiko models, as you will see throughout the video. You know, I said it before and I will say it again, I'm not a fan of homage watches. Let me clarify what I mean by homage watches. I'm 100% okay with watches borrowing certain elements from other watches. What I'm not okay with is when a watch brand takes the lazy approach of making a carbon copy of another watch. Okay, if you're still with me, let's jump into this review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Dreadnought. This watch is fully constructed of 316L stainless steel, and right away one of the striking features is of course the case design. If you're a Seiko enthusiast, you might immediately recognize it as being the Seiko Samurai, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let me tell you, the way that the light plays with the curvature of the case is beautiful. The entire case has a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces. Now on the side of the case, we do see how the case sinks in, giving the case a very, of course, distinct look. The dimensions of this watch are as follows. The case does measure in at 44 millimeters, and from lug tip to lug tip is 48.4 millimeters. The thickness on this guy is 13.9 millimeters, and it has a lug width of 22 millimeters. It does weigh in at 195 grams. It's a heavy boy. Although the specifications seem, rather big, the short lug to lug actually make this watch wear very comfortable on my 6 and 7/8 inch wrists. But don't be fooled. Definitely this watch has some wrist presence. Now, this watch does come with a flat anti-reflective sapphire crystal, and that of course is protecting this beautiful black matte dial. On the dial we do find fully polished hands that strongly resemble those of the Seiko SKX. However, they did choose to go with an arrow style seconds hand that breaks away from the Seiko design, and the sharp arrow really plays well with the sharp case design, and it gives a nod to vintage pieces. Around the dial we do find round wide applied indices that are surrounded by polished outer rings, and at the 12 o'clock we do find an applied triangle with the same treatment. Now in between the indices are some bouton style printed indices, and at the 12 o'clock we do find a printed word, of course the company name, Aries Gold, and at the 6 o'clock the printed words automatic and 20 ATM. At the 3 o'clock we see the date window. Now typically I'm not a fan of date windows that don't match the color of the dial, but in this case the white really blends in well with the color of the hands and of course the indices. On the rehod we do find a ring that has printed minute markings and Arabic numerals. Very nice. Overall the dial I think is pretty clean, it's legible, and I like the simplicity of it. In my opinion, it really does create a great balance between the aggressive design and it just goes well. The lume on the diver is pretty good, but I would have liked to see more. Then again, I'm a lume junkie, so I like my dive watches to glow like a torch. It wouldn't hurt either, they would have included lume on the bezel. I love that, but they're currently using C5 Super Luminova, and they did apply lume on the hands, the indices, the lume pip, and look, overall it does glow enough to be legible in low light conditions, and it does last a few hours. This watch features a 120 click unidirectional aluminum bezel that's been laser engraved. The action on it is actually superb. It has a zero backplate and it aligns very well with the dial. At the 12 o'clock, of course, as previously mentioned, we do find a lume pip, and one of the more unique characteristics of the bezel is that where the edge of the black portion of the bezel ends, we actually find about a 1 millimeter portion that's been completely polished all the way to the edge of the actual bezel, and that effect really plays well with the light, and it also hides the fact that the bezel is really big. One of the cool things also that I found, it's on the edge of the actual bezel. It's finished with this knurling finish that not only helps with the grip of the bezel, but it also makes the watch look even more aggressive. At the 3 o'clock, we do find a signed screw down crown that helps this watch with the 200 meters of water resistance. The screw action of the crown is actually very smooth. Winding the movement, setting the time, and changing the date are of course a breeze. All this thanks to the workhorse movement of the Seiko NH35A. As we all know, a lot of watch brands use this movement for its reliability, and so far I've had no issues with any of my NH movements, so I like that the watch actually comes with this movement because, again, it's reliable, right? The NH movement can be hacked and wound, and although it's not decorated, it's still pretty cool. You know, especially when you are greeted with this really cool exhibition case back. Now, around the case back, they did laser etch some information about the watch, and although dive watches should not, you know, have exhibition casebacks due to the possible failure issues, I think exhibition casebacks are pretty cool for any collector, whether you're new to the hobby or you're a seasoned collector. Look, by looking at these movements in action, it really reminds you why we fell in love with these mechanical watches in the first place. And in my opinion, it's a good way to show non-watch people why we are so enamored with these little tiny objects. The bracelet does measure in at 22 millimeters, and it tapers down to 20 millimeters and then back up to 22 millimeters at the clasp. The entire bracelet has a mix of brushed and polished surfaces. It has solid links, solid end links, and it uses a pin system to size the bracelet. The clasp features a double lock system, and the word Aries gold has been engraved on the top of the locking piece, and it's super easy to operate this thanks to the 2 deploying buttons on the clasp. The clasp is stamped, but you know, overall it feels pretty good, although I would have preferred screws to size the bracelet and also a mill clasp as opposed to stamp. It works. The clasp does feature a 3 micro adjustment system, so fitting it on different size wrists shouldn't be a problem. It's pretty easy. I have to be honest, I didn't know how I was going to feel about the watch, especially because when I first saw it, of course, it reminded me of a Seiko. But the more I wore it and the more I interacted with the watch, it really changed my mind, and the watch does have its own identity. However, I really do hope that Aries Gold creates a unique dive watch that ticks all the boxes in the hopefully near future. And in my opinion, they will strike gold. No pun intended. Now, at the time of this recording, you can pick up this watch for less than $300. In my opinion, that's a pretty good deal for the specs that this watch offers. The overall feel of the watch is pretty good. There are no sharp edges. The finishing is actually really good compared to other micro brands that have come through the channel for the same price point. And of course, all the packaging on the Aries Gold watches I've reviewed is ridiculous and always on point. Now, if this black dial doesn't speak to you, then head on over to their website. They do have 5 other dial and bezel variations and a 6th watch that's actually all black. Now, I chose to go with the black on black because it's the most versatile combo. In my humble opinion, unlike Omar from Timeless Sneakers and Watches, crazy color combos are just not my thing. But hey, if that's your kind of thing, more power to you. All jokes aside, go check out my boy Omar's channel. He has some great content. This is actually the 3rd Aries Gold watch I've reviewed, and I can tell you that so far I've been pretty impressed with the quality built on all of them. And I think if you have the opportunity, you should definitely check one of their models out in the metal. I think you'd be very impressed. Anyway, got another very interesting review coming up. Another Aries Gold watch. You see, that watch is actually sold as a woman's watch, but I want to show everybody that watches should be genderless, so stick around for that. As always, my friends, thank you so much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Please comment, like, and as always, stay humble.